Hello, San Diego Hisconners. This is Harold Buchanan back at you with my buddy Gene Billingsley, the president principal of GMT Games. And we're here to talk about the American Revolution in the context of a games publisher. And we might even have another publisher or former publisher to pop in as we're talking. But Gene, welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you, Harold. It's always a pleasure to be here with you. You know that I'm a big fan of what you guys do at ST HisCon, and I'm happy to be here and honored to be here today.
Yeah, and we appreciate you. You are a huge supporter and have always been for 10
Excellent.
years of SD HisCon. Have
This is
been
the first one, right?
yeah, that's right. And so we're indebted and thank you for your support. As a matter of fact,
Most welcome.
we got some really good game support for our Minneapolis St. Paul convention coming up. So
Yeah, I
thanks.
can't come to that one physically, but a bunch of our people are coming there, so we're really looking forward to it and hoping it'll be a big success for you.
Yes, yes. So we're looking forward to it and got a great response from the community. I think we sold out in 24 hours. So that's
awesome.
All good. Well, I think that I just got off a long discussion with Volko, and Mike Berticelli showed up at the end, and we talked about liberty or death. But a big part of that, of the liberty or death for me, was that you wanted to publish it, and it really makes me think about, from your perspective, you have a perspective that nobody else really has. You understand over years in the industry and years as a publisher what people are interested in, what people aren't interested in. And I'm just kind of curious about, where does the American Revolution fall in that universe?
Yeah, that's a good question, Harold. And I know I should probably be better prepared to have pat answers for all this, but really I'm just kind of going with my gut to answer your questions here. First of all, my perspective is rooted in the fact that I am a war gamer, a game player. The publisher kind of happened along the way, and it's kind of grown and then exploded, and I ended up in this job, and I love this job. But at the heart of it, I'm a player. I love history. I love studying history. I love learning the lessons of history. And I look at games as interactive ways to learn about history and to teach others what the lessons of history, if you will. And so the thing about being a gamer when I was growing up, which my kids would say is when dinosaurs roamed the earth, there weren't a whole lot of AmRev type of games back then. And in some ways, I guess for me, We the People, which is now Washington's War, was the first game that really grabbed my attention. And part of it, of course, was that it was Mark Herman. And Mark's not here right now, so we could talk about him, right?
We should talk about him as much as we'd like.
I mean, if he was here, we would tell what a sorry soul he is, right? But now that he's not here, I can say that just certainly one of the most accomplished game designers, and in my view, the most accomplished systems game designer in the history of our hobby, and has brought us so many amazing new systems. And We the People started one of those, the whole card-driven game system series. And so I had never seen anything like it. And I asked Mark at the time, we were friends already, and I said, Mark, what is this? It doesn't feel like any kind of game that I've ever played. And he said, oh, it's Go. And I said, excuse me? He goes, oh, I'm teaching the lessons of the American Revolution through the mechanics of Go. And then it started to click for me. And I went, oh yeah. You know probably more about the American Revolution than I do, Harold, from the study that you put into your various AmRev games. But it kind of fits, right? I mean, you can see how Go works there. And it's part of the genius of Mark Herman that he was able to take that and put the history into a model that introduced you to mechanics and let you play with mechanics, that kind of turned the light bulb on, at least for me, to both card-driven games and in particular the American Revolution, because I saw it in a new way. And that fired my imagination for AmRev strategic games. And then Mark Miklos came along at, the end of that decade, the 1990s. And he met up with Andy Lewis and myself at, back then, it was called AvalonCon. Now it's WBC. And he said, what would you think about publishing a series of tactical games on the American Revolution? And I was thinking, how many tactical battles could I actually name from the American Revolution? At the time, it was a short list. Right? But he started with one I actually knew something about, which was Saratoga. And I thought, oh, that's a great battle. That's a really balanced battle in the American Revolution. And I think that would be terrific. And I looked at the system. And the big thing was I saw Mark's passion. I mean, you cannot spend 15 minutes with Mark Miklos without seeing how passionate he is for the topic of the American Revolution and for this series of games in particular. And that has always grabbed me. Not just a topic, but a designer's passion for the topic. We came out of a period with Avalon Hill and SPI in the 60s and 70s and early 80s where publishers gave assignments. And somebody at the top had this grand vision of how all their games were going to fit together, and they gave assignments to the various designers, and hopefully, that made for a line, right? And I just have never wanted to do it that way, for better or for worse. My view is, and designers still come to me, Vance Mabori is one of the guys from the old guard at Avalon Hill. Still, he'll finish a game and he'll say, hey, Gene, what do you want me to do next? I'm like, Vance, how many times do I have to say this? I don't give assignments. And Vance is a great guy and I love him. But most of the other designers know I don't give assignments. And the thing I will say is, what are you reading? What are you watching? What are you passionate about? Go make a game about that, because that passion is going to shine through in the final product. And that's way more important to me than having some predetermined line where, somehow all the games would be designed to fit together. And I believe that the designers in their passion for topics can do a better job of creating a line of products that gamers would really enjoy playing than I could sitting up in some ivory tower. Not that GMT has an ivory tower, but, and trying to craft a strategy that would bring great games to tables. So I just put a lot of trust in designers. I know I'm wandering a little bit far afield with your question here, but to me, it's not just the AmRev topic. It's what designers have come across our path or have crossed paths with us who had a real passion for this topic. And so Mark Herman, Mark Miklos, there's this, there's the ancient one. Hey, Mark, how's it going?
It's good. I've been sitting here a while, but he's been texting with me.
You didn't hear all the bad things I said about you, did you?
Oh no, I heard none of that. What? Did you
okay, good.
I got AI will recap them for us later.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah,
it was all this stuff about you being pretty much the sorriest game designer ever. And
I hear that. I mean, I have a wife. I already have a wife. I don't have to hear it from you. Huh?
Carol has done that job well, right?
Oh, she's a pro.
Okay, so I'm in the middle of a question. So I know you're a star, but
no, this game rock and roll. I'm happy.
So my point was, Mark, to catch you up, is that
no, I heard everything.
Okay.
It's a joke.
Right,
it's a
cool.
joke. It was a joke.
So Harold, at one point you and I sat down in Tempe, Arizona, and hadn't met before. We had talked a little bit via email, I think, and that's about it at that point.
Yeah.
And I said, tell me about this game you want to do. I knew I liked the Coin series. And at that point, a lot of people say, well, GMT could have just done any game in the Coin series. And Vocal and I would tell you that is absolutely not true. We were being very strict about the requirements for games that we put into that series. They all had to be different. They had to bring something very different to the table. But what I wanted was somebody very passionate about the topic. And that's why Volko didn't do them all, because he wasn't passionate about all those topics. The games he was passionate about, he did. Well, you brought us a game, and it didn't take me long to figure out that you were passionate about the topic. Yes, you're smart, you're informed, you did your research, you did all those things. You worked well with Volko. You both give and take. You listened well. You weren't afraid to make suggestions. All those things I love. But at the heart of it was you were passionate for this subject. And so I love that. And I guess maybe the last game I'd talk about is there's this game that some of you may have heard about recently that we haven't published yet, but it's on our P500 list, called Common Sense. This is it's a brilliant game, in my opinion. Of course, not as brilliant as We the People or Washington's War. But you know, like secondarily brilliant. And Sam London, by the way, is going to be a big name in this industry.
Oh, I've already played. Oh, I've played.
Yeah, you played it.
I didn't know that was the title of it. I've played it.
It's impressive, right?
It seemed quite good. I saw it at in San Diego 2 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
And
Sam was on here earlier demoing it.
So here's another game. The mechanics are impressive. They grab me. They're very different. Nobody's ever played a game like this, much less an AmRev game like this. But what really got me was Sam's passion for the topic. Ananda and I played head to head at.
I saw that you had a video of it.
Yeah, they videoed it at the April weekend at the warehouse. And along the way, as you would imagine, as we're playing, we had a lot of asides to Sam, questions or thoughts. And in every case, he really showed the depth of his passion for the game and his answers to us. And Ananda and I would just kind of look at each other and smile. And, the unspoken words were, yeah, this guy's a keeper. He's got it, whatever it is. So I'm really looking forward to not only Common Sense, but all the games that Sam's working on. He lets his passion shine through in his games.
Yeah.
Well, Harold, that's my very long answer. I'm sorry. To your short question. To me, it's the passion of the designers. I do happen to think that we've got some really nice AmRev games, but they come from designers who love that period.
I love it. Mark, we were, the premise that I opened with Gene was, publisher has a unique perspective that players and designers don't have, and that you're really interested in what can sell and what will sell. And, you've certainly been in that seat and been around people in that seat. But I was just thinking, Victory Games, we don't have an American Revolution game from Victory, do we? And
No.
Was that a conscious choice?
Nobody. So, I used the same. I didn't use the exact same method. But basically, we went into Victory with the proposals we left SPI with, right? So I did Gulf Strike and Pacific War and all that stuff. And, Eric Lee Smith did American Civil War, and John Butterfield did his Hell's Highway. So, we wandered in with that. And then after we had sort of planted a flag and we're moving along, what did it say? Not as brilliant as We the People, but Liberty or Death wasn't listed in that. I don't know.
Yes. Yeah. Hey, how about a little courtesy to the host, Gene? Come on.
Oh yeah, you were dissed, but wait, do I get that T-shirt? You made those T-shirts for this con. Do I get one?
I told, so I was on the line with Mark Miklos, and I said, Mark, Gene Billingsley just sent me this. This is the T-shirt for the Camden event.
Well, I'm coming to Camden, so he'll have to give me one there.
So you'll get yours there, Mark.
Anyway, all that aside. So, Gene, I know you guys are so young, and it's cute to watch young men, wander around. You don't have got a clue what you're talking about. But let me explain. You said before there was 1776, there was this.
I meant good ones, Mark.
Oh no, this is a great game. I'm sorry. This is a Dunnigan design. It's an area control game, and there's nothing in any Amrev game you've ever played that isn't already in this game from 1972. So I just want to be clear. When I was in high school, that's what I was playing, and I loved it. Now going back to what the question or the thought that I just heard.
Can I tell a quick story about that game, Mark? Just a funny
Oh,
story.
hey, listen, you're the host. So
Well,
your show.
yeah, apparently not, because they didn't mention Liberty or Death. But the the thing that I thought was brilliant is that in Liberty or Death we put in fundamentally the same mechanic, right? Where the French can intervene by naval power anywhere they choose, just not everywhere, right? One place,
one
places.
time. Yeah, DeGrasse shows up.
Yeah. So I stole that from Mark's Washington We the People, right? So I'm thinking, hey, Mark, I appreciate it. I stole it from you.
And I stole it from
Dunnigan.
Yeah,
isn't that awesome?
That's what I'm trying to say.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, but it just shows you we all stand on the shoulders of what came before. So, but with it, to Dunnigan's credit, so remember, 1776 came out in 74. So this is 2 years before the famous 1776, which is Where's the Love? God, you guys are so funny. So Amra and if you go back even further, when I was a kid, there is a game called Skirmish. I don't know if you guys remember Skirmish. Yep. Skirmish is a Milton Bradley American Rev game that came out at the same time as Battle Cry, Dogfight, and Broadside. So it was one of the four. So, I grew up with those four games. And so, again, but going back to what you said, why didn't Victory Games do one? Well, when Nick Karp came through the door, he was passionate about Vietnam. And then when Joel Bukowski showed up, he wanted to do Korea. And and so on. So everybody who came through the door had the one thing that they wanted to do, and there was never like a marketing meeting. There was no market analysis. There was none of that. It was, if Nick Karp had come out of from Princeton and said, "Hey, I want to do American Rev game," we would have had American Rev game, but it never happened. Yeah. And at the time, I mean, Pacific War was took a little bit of my time. And so we had plenty on our plates, and like I said, nobody. And at the time, Civil War. Look, in the hobby, right? There's 4 topics that have been done. Just go to BGG. You got Gettysburg, the battle; Waterloo, the battle; Battle of the Bulge, the battle; and then any invasion of Russia by the Germans. Those 4 topics have been done, endlessly. So what I have done is I've done a Gettysburg game. By the way, and you would be very happy to know, Gene, I've been playing in between these various sessions. Lee is invading the North in 1863 again. My first war game in 74. There you go, Roger. So Gettysburg, I did a Waterloo game. I'm unlikely to do a Battle of the Bulge game because it's just so. I mean, what else is there to do? I mean, it's just been done 100,000 times. Well, and I don't really like East Front games that much. But World War II has always been in vogue as a topic, and obviously Ananda and Jason, really hit it on the Cold War, and then it's just like what are the famous battles or campaigns, and as the market has, when I was young, the market was 90% American and 10% all else. And the other 10% was like 8% British and 2% all else. Hobby Japan being the main axis on the other crowd that used to work with Avalon Hill. Now, I suspect that the Americans are at best 50%, could even be less than 50%. And so the topics have expanded, and they've changed. And, it's just the nature of the market, what grabs people's interest. Now, it's the 250th anniversary, obviously, of the country, and we're going to go to Camden. But like I said, everybody's had a different take on these things. But to me, SPI published. I've always been about political military events. I'm much more. That's just my natural focus. And so, the American Revolution, the American Civil War, even Churchill with World War II. I see that big picture of it's politics driving the story to me. And I've done operational games and tactical games and everything in between. But that's kind of where I get excited, or a really epic-y, I don't know. I've lost my mind with this American Heritage series, but it's Civil War. But if there's like very few counters on a very large map of Gettysburg, imagine how much fewer there would be if it was an American Revolution game. Because the standard army, I mean, most of those battles don't even have 10,000 guys in them.
Right.
More people, at Antietam, 17,000 guys got, knocked down. And that's that's bigger than any American Rev battle all by itself. So it's a much more contained situation. And, I was saying earlier when I did this Washington's where I talked about We the People, and the thing that I originally had put into We the People was when you had a card that wasn't your event, it was a dead card. And that was on purpose. And I changed it, not because I thought it was wrong, but because everybody was unhappy. And there is an entertainment aspect of what we do. So I try not to make everybody so unhappy, although I'm extraordinarily good at it. I want to be clear. I have easily, as many people as I've made happy with my designs, I've at least pissed off 4 times as many people. So I'm really proud of that, actually.
Yeah, I've gotten some of those letters.
Oh yeah, let me tell you something. When I did We the People, I got hate mail, and I never got hate mail from any other game I ever did before. But all the Hex and Counter guys were like, I had it was almost like I was watching this movie about Bob Dylan. It's the one where he's like, it's a Bob Dylan movie. Chalamet, plays Dylan, and it's about his early years. And when he goes to that festival and he plays with an electric guitar at the folk thing, and they think he's like basically sold out to Satan, right? When I did We the People, obviously I'm not on the par of Bob Dylan, but it was that same kind of feeling like you have sold out the Hex and Counter guys, you bastard. Why are you alive? And now it's like, oh yeah, no, nobody wants to even do Hex and Counter games anymore.
That's not true, is it, Gene?
It is not true, but his broader point is.
Yeah, I think that I don't think anybody wants to. I mean, Jason Carr is stuck with American Heritage, my series, but I think most of the guys don't want to do Hex and Counters at your shop anymore. Gene, you ought to talk to them. They don't seem to like them. They don't like them anymore.
The compact I have with our Hex and Counter players, and there's about 20,000 of them that I can count right now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good market still. It's not the huge market, but it's a good market. Is that as long as they will show up and order on P500, and as long as we have designers who are passionate about doing those games, then we will never stop doing Hex and Counter games.
Yeah, and I will tell you, I've done my best to reinvent Hex and Counter, so I'm hopeful that I think they're starting to get the idea. It doesn't have to be, blue and gray, force ratios, and all that.
But some guys just, we like what we like. And
that's why I stayed married to one woman all these years. I got that part, but sometimes we have to move on.
I don't like in the hobby when we try to tell other people what they should like.
Oh no, you can't. First, you can't do that. But I get to publish what I get to design what I want.
Review. I want to listen to our customers and say, what is it that you want? And so, and that's a piece of it. The other side is designer passion, right? But so I hear this pretty large group still that used to be the largest group, Hex and Counter gamers, going, wait, don't leave us, because I got the hate mail after Paths of Glory and all the other CDGs, right? And every time we've done anything like Dominant Species, oh, you're leaving us. Well, no, we're not. But in order to make games that they like, we have to have designers that like those games. Now, the good thing for GMT, and I know it was true at Victory too, is that our designers are game players. And so they're embedded out there in the hobby, playing these games and continuing to grow their passion, seeing new kinds of designs, enjoying them, and it informs their own design capabilities. And so they're continually reinvigorating themselves in terms of what they like. So we have guys, we've got a dozen guys that are making Hex and Counter games for us right now, that's enough. And if we had 20, I'd say that's great. 2 probably isn't enough, but as long as we've got a dozen guys making these kind of games, they're passionate, then we'll have that part of our line will go for a very long time.
Speaking of Hex Encounter, this Mark Miklos system seems to be thriving.
It is.
And continuing to grow, and that's great to see, right? I love those games. I think the Saratoga scenario of his first game from 1998 is just a masterwork of tension in 4 turns.
Yeah, we're on, what is it, volume 11 now, and now it's spawned a smaller series, small battles, because even at Mark's scale, I mean, this Mark's point was really right. I mean, the small scale of these battles, you don't have very many counters, and even at the scale that Mark Miklos has chosen for the regular AmRev games, you can have 25, 30 counters on the map. Well, you get down to some of these smaller battles, and they'd be like 5 counters on the map or 2 counters on the map. And so Bruno, and who's got his own great background in terms of making Hex Encounter games,
yeah,
has come in as a small battles designer with essentially the same systems, but looking at these small battles to try to bring some battles to the tabletop that players haven't been able to play before simply because of the scale.
Yeah,
so
that's one of the things.
Those two.
Yeah, I'm starting. For the next C3I, we're going to bring back Berg's Louisiana Tigers.
Good.
And I'm modifying it, and I win this argument this time.
That's terrible.
It is actually, but there was just a couple of things that I loved. I loved it, and so it's going to evolve into the Iron Brigade system. But it's it's very much it's like 80% Louisiana Tigers, but there are some good improvements in the CRTs and the combat system and even the activation system. And this is a company level, the game is around 2 regiments. It's much more like Johnny Red. It's like, I don't know if either one of you guys ever knew the John Hill of Squad Leader fame and other things, but he was a big miniaturist, and he did Johnny Reb rules. And I used to play, these various Civil War actions, and these are the small ones, right? Because like if Mick, I was wondering how many more battles Mark Miklos can do at that scale, because I think he's done them. I mean, if he hasn't done them all, he's real close, because there weren't that many battles. I mean, there wasn't more than like one battle a year, kind of, and the whole war went from 1775 to 1783. So
but if you redefine what the size of a
I get that. I'm talking about right? But if you're at that Saratoga level, I 100% agree with you, Harold. Yeah. Obviously, I understand scale, but at the scale of Saratoga, there's not many battles. Now, if you change the scale, hell, you could get down to.
There's a lot of that's
everything.
That's what I'm excited about. Let me ask both of you guys another publisher question, because Gene, you've touched 2 of these. Mark's touched 1 for sure, but you now have in your inventory a couple of books, right? So you have Mark's at Great Work, which I think is. Are we doing a reprint, or we're considering?
I'm trying to. I don't think there's any interest, though. I think people have had it.
Well, I've had it. There's no doubt I've had it.
That's what I thought.
I'm just looking at my signed copy. I'm not buying another one.
Yeah,
But
I think that one's enough. There's no question about it.
But
it will get published again. Whether if I don't get enough orders, I'm just going to publish it, because I don't. I'll work it out with Gene. But we'll publish it again and put it up for sale, and it'll be around. And
Harold, if you buy another one, Mark will sign it with his other hand. Okay. You'll have
Mark's wife to sign the next one. Have Carol sign the next one if we can.
She just signs checks. It's okay.
Well, that she can do both. But now you're about to publish Mick's book, which is most excellent. I read an early version of it, thoroughly enjoyed it. Love, he's such a great storyteller anyway, right? And it comes across in his writing. What are your thought process on that? And does that have anything to do with the American Revolution? Was the trigger there, or just Mark's good work?
Well, let's go back to passion. Mark Herman's book is his passion for game design laid out there for all of us to look over his shoulder and learn from, with plenty of examples. And as Marcus said many times, it's not the way to do it, it's the way he does it. And so if you want to learn how Mark Herman has designed these masterpieces over the years, that's a great way to learn. You look at Mark Miklas's book. Yeah, there it is. If you look at what Mark Miklas has created, here's a guy who's so incredibly passionate about the American Revolutionary War and those battles that he's created a book where we can look over his shoulder at his view of all these battles and how they were connected throughout 1775 to 1783, but throughout the specific battles of the series. So if you're interested in this series and how it kind of tells the story of the history of
Mark, you caught me on that one. I love that was brilliant.
then this is a great book. But in both cases, it shows a passion of the designer. And one of the questions that we're always asking in terms of types of products that we can release is how can we create platforms or products that allow our designers to share their passion with our customers. One place where really no money changes hands is in Inside GMT. And that came from my daughter, Rachel, many years ago when she said, Dad, you're wasting resources, which is a really good way to get my attention, by the way. And I said, what are you talking about? She said, you have all these designers that have this passion for history. They have passion for game design, and they want to tell people about it. And you have all these customers that would love to know about it, and you don't have any way to put them together except in a published game. She said, and I said, what are you talking about? She said, you need a blog. And, over time, our designers have really loved that. And our customers have really loved that as a way. And sure, it's a way to promote games. It does that. But it also just allows our customers at no cost.
Oh, you're talking about Inside GMT, isn't that what you're?
Yeah, Inside GMT.
I thought you buried the lead, so I was just trying to figure out where you were
going. So that they can go in and learn and just use it as a way to learn about our designers, about their passion for the topics, about the various games that we do. And so that's a place where we don't reap any monetary benefit directly from that, but it still allows the passion of our designers an outlet. And it allows our customers to benefit from that. So from a publisher's point of view, those kinds of things are really important to me. And the books, we'll see how big a line that ends up being. I would love to see it be a line that lots of our designers say, I have a passion for this, and I'd like to write a book and for us to sit down and talk about that.
Yeah. And I will say that my passion for the American Civil War is probably not even close to Mark's for the American Revolution, but it's for me, the American Civil War, as I started there as a child, and I kind of find myself right now just like, it's interesting when you do a game and there are books I read for Lee Moves North that I haven't looked at literally in decades because I was doing other things. And when you reread a book after decades and you're a little bit older, a little more seasoned, you see things you didn't see the first three times, when you were 12 and 15 and whatever, and 20s and 30s, it's just a different thing. But I have several areas, but like I said, I was happy to do, and I am, by the way, doing another AMREV game with this kind of a friend. He's a little bit of a loser, but I didn't want to announce it yet, so we'll see how it goes.
Hey, we have to close here, but Gene Billingsley, I want you to point out one thing to Mark. Your fans spoke, right? Your GMT fans. When you started a recorded series of interviewing designers, who was the first designer? Was it Volko or Mark Herman, perhaps?
Probably you.
Hell yeah, it was.
It was this guy. I can't remember his name. What was it?
He's obnoxious.
Yeah.
He did a game on the American Revolution, but I can't. It was not memorable.
Yes.
Yeah. Harold.
Slightly controversial.
We love doing that, and I love that game too.
Yeah.
By the way, I just want to be clear. I've played it now 2 SD HISCons, and I was victorious twice. I just want to say, I don't suck at it. I want to be clear.
People believe that you have loaded 3-sided dice.
Harold.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I'm so envious. Gene and I could not get Volko to put a die into freaking Fire in the Lake, but you did it. So you're obviously much smarter than we are, because I couldn't do it.
But we did win the argument with Volko about defensive fire.
We did, but that was like, I had to like stand on that little creek, to get him.
It's
to
funny. He
Orlando.
tells that story. He's still not happy about that.
Yeah, you know what? I'm glad he's not happy about it.
That's awesome. Hey, I'm going to have go ahead, Gene. Sorry.
I was going to say I learned something from you in Liberty or Death. When I first saw it, I thought, why on earth is this a 4-player game? I didn't like as a player that there was the tribal was the 4th player.
Yeah.
And it showed now my belief is it showed my ignorance of the topic, because I told you earlier it might be true that I might be doing some research for a possible game that is adjacent to this topic.
Just to be clear, and I'm going to try to keep this apolitical, but anytime you start chanting anything from one spot to the other, and there's people in between, they get killed.
Yeah. So all I'm saying is, as I began to do research for this other potential product, again and again and again, I saw how significant the conflict during and after the American Revolution was with the Native American tribes.
Yeah.
And so I began to say, something I don't say very often, Harold was right.
Oh, I love that. There's Captain Parker and the boys at Lexington Green.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, look, April 19th came and went, and most people don't even recognize it, shot her around the world. But, it's anyway, look, the founding of this country is an impressive event. I don't know where that quality of human went, as far as intellect and all that. Of course, there was horrible things going on. Every July 4th in New York in the 42nd Street Library, they have Jefferson's original Declaration of Independence. They have the actual in his handwriting copy, and they show it right around July 4th. It'll be obviously up for and all the stuff around slavery was taken out. It's in there. You can actually read it in his hand. I've read it. I've actually sat there in the library looking in Jefferson's hand and having him read about how we need to get rid of slavery, even though he was a slave owner. That was all taken out. So this place was founded on good intentions, looking for a more perfect union, but how we treated the Native Americans and the Africans we brought over here as slaves, not our finest hour, even close. And so, and in today's world, everyone wants to kill Jews, and I get that, but that's how the world has become. Nothing's really changed. That's the sad side.
Well, we'll close on that. I appreciate both you guys and all your support for SD HistCon and all we do here. For those of you in the audience, what is it they say? Like, comment, and subscribe to the SD Hist YouTube channel. We need the help. We could use it, but great having you guys on. I'm off to Ardwolf's now for the wrap up. But
and I'm supposed to show. I had a new SteamYard thing to go to that, right?
Yeah, you do. Yeah,
I'll be there.
We were going to surprise people, but now 22 people that are watching are going to know that you're going to show.
I can go eat dinner, right, Harold?
Please go eat dinner. It's good seeing you, Gene. Thanks for taking the time. Mark, always a pleasure.
All right, take care, guys.
We'll see you.